Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer tournament, Galactic Pod Racing Circuit Tournament for 2023. I am Mike, also known as Mikey Burger. It's been a little bit of a while since I've done this, but I'm joined today with Goofbrush. Hello, Goof.
What's up? This is going to be a really fun match
Yeah,
against
definitely.
two of the best tournament players.
Yeah, in today's match, we've got kingbeandip and acE playing each other. So, these two have both been tournament winners in the past. So not sure how much practice they've done. I mean, they were sort of joshing in the pre-chat about how much they'd actually not practiced. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if they've actually done any work for this occasion or not.
Yeah, we'll see. Countdown has been given. I think this is the start. About a second. Let's see if I remember how to do this.
Yeah, going to bumpies on the first track is kind of a little bit interesting. I didn't particularly expect them to end up on this track, because I know that acE is quite fond of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal track to start with, especially if they're both out of practice. So let's just see if they can make it through it cleanly.
Yeah, I mean, they seem pretty equal actually at the moment in general. Not that I really expected much difference, but yeah, King Bean took a little bit of a knock on some of the turns, although it's looking like he's actually maybe even ahead at the moment. Yeah, looks like he's actually ahead at the moment.
Yeah. He's on a little bit
How they're doing
higher.
the shortcut.
Higher heat. By the way, in chat, just tell me if the sound's all good and we're both audible. But yeah, both looking really clean so far. Okay.
That's like game audio is a bit quiet, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, some nice lap times coming in. 130, 131. Respectable lap times. Do we are we meant to talk about TFPS every single match or
No, I don't think we need to.
I think we should just get someone in chat to do it. Just they can explain it.
Yeah, we need like a copy pasta just to paste every time anyone asks.
King Me Dip underheating a little bit there, but of course that doesn't mean much if anyone takes a crash. I mean, I guess that's the priority, isn't it? You know, don't crash really.
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious, although on some tracks it can be you can get away with it if you're just really really quick, but not on this sort of track, I think.
Yeah, and actually I just noticed that King Bean is the only one running Bumpy as an AI companion.
Yeah, they have both got. Actually, no, only King Bean's got Bumpy with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bumpy is the track favorite on this track. He's used when you add him to the game in the race. I believe he changes the door patterns to make it a little bit more convenient, so you can take slightly better lines through that section. So it's kind of like AI modification.
It's the same on Aqualaris and Sunken, same concept. But yeah, really even. Like they're basically in sync, though they have been this entire race, which is kind of insane.
Synchronized pod racing.
Yeah, it kind of just looks like we've accidentally had the same stream twice, just a bit delayed.
Yeah, I have to say they do look like they have done some practice. Looking at this.
Yeah. I'm kind of scared now to face either of them if this is what they look like, just fresh or rust. Ace, maybe. Oh, damn.
Oof, that's
That was
a
so
little bit
even.
unfortunate. Yeah, last lap as well, so it's a bit difficult to make up that time now, isn't it? But...
Yeah. Very unfortunate death, but Ace should take game or match one, race one.
Yeah, I
Very
think for
nice.
some, it can hit quite hard if you take a crash on the first race, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully King Bean can recover.
Yeah. We lost a lot of time there from that one death, it looks like. Oh, well, so that's our first race. So it kind of gets a bit more interesting now. Players will be permanently banning 2 tracks each. These tracks will not be allowed to be played for the remaining match or in any subsequent races. And I'm not exactly sure on the order of who bans first here. I think, doesn't the loser ban first?
Um,
I think the loser bans first.
okay. Yeah, King Bean is banning first. Bunter training course banned from King Bean. I think Ace went BRB. But yeah, if we just go over the match history between these two, um, they've only played 3 times or slated to play 4 times, but King Bean or Ace forfeited once. But the last 2 games they've had is it's been 7-0 and 7-1 in Ace's favor. So it's definitely King Bean's time to shine.
Yeah, I mean, he is I've said it before many times, he's a very fierce competitor when he wants to be. He has won a tournament before. I think it was 2019 he won. So yeah, the definitely a high stakes match really with these two.
Yeah. So Bulba's Legacy banned from Ace, Mongar's Speedway banned from King Bean, and then Ace bans Andobi Mountain Run.
Kind of surprised by Ace banning AMR. I thought that's something he would like to keep in. So
Yeah.
not exactly sure on that one.
King Bean is very good there. I think his and Ace's PBs are only very, very close to each other. So King Bean's very good on AMR and Howler from an IL perspective.
Yeah, King Bean banning winter training course. That's quite. I've seen him do that before.
Yeah, it's a very classic ban from him. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah,
I think he said it's because of the full track, but he's
yeah. I don't
already
think he likes
done the full
full
track.
track.
Yeah, maybe it's partly skips as well, but
Yeah. So for the next race, the loser of the first track, which in this case is King Bean, will be choosing the next track for us. So it will start with him temporarily banning a pod, and then Ace will get an additional temporary track ban, which will only apply to the next track. And then King Bean will be able to pick the track with a combination of additional forces. So the forces, as I understand it, include skips, which will kind of become apparent when we see them, or rather the enablement to use a skip, so it's not a forced option from both players, and additional pod bans. And these additional pod bans are up to 2 per force point, I believe. And each player has 3 force points per match, at least up for the first to 5 in this case, which is what this match will be.
That's right. So King Bean temp banned Elan, and then Ace temp banned Abyss, and then we are going to milestone 100.
Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty much what we call a throwaway ban, isn't it, really, with Elan, particularly with these sort of players. So we can see they're both going to be picking Ben Quadranaris, who is the fastest, has the fastest pod racer in this game, which is why both players are going to be using him. I think for some of the newer players, they might opt to use some slightly different pod choices, but yeah, certainly for these two, I would expect nothing else really than to pick Ben. I don't think there's any advantage to picking anything else.
Yeah, this is I'm not really sure what to make of this pick, because this is King Bean's pick, but Ace is, I would say, this is one of Ace's more it's one of his better tracks, if you can even say that, because all of his tracks are good tracks, but I'd say he's very confident here. Although if he hasn't played it for a while, maybe he can mess up. So
yeah, it is pretty interesting actually. I don't really associate King Bean with a lot of the Malastair tracks so much. It's the sort of thing I would expect Ace to pick. So yeah, I agree. It is sort of an interesting one. This.
yeah, I think the PBs are about like a second apart, so it's kind of a big margin, unless King Bean has already PB'd in practice. All right, countdown
Yeah,
is
it's pretty
given.
significant. Yeah, King Bean's practice time there was very good actually. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens here.
Yeah. I'm just hoping for a back and forth here between both players.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of psychology in matches. It's definitely a very different experience to doing individual level speed runs. So yeah, they look like they're both off to a nice start for the moment.
I think the wrong player.
Oh, King being a little bit wobbly there, but he looks like he's all right. Yeah, players using the lowest traction and FPS setting to help them navigate the hairpin, which allows for a greater turning potential, essentially, which is kind of related to the TFPS discussion that we mentioned before. So that's traction and frame rate, which have some complications in the game regarding to the game's physics.
Right. And milestone 100, because of this hairpin, is basically the only full track. Oh, damn. A crash from King Bean. But
Ooh.
yeah, it's basically the only track that uses 2420, which is the minimum traction death up, which I'd say is the only reason why this track has any kind of difficulty. So outside of that, there's not really much difficulty.
Yeah, it does make the pod pretty slippery. I think, yeah, King Bean's looking a little bit tilted from that, but yeah, the rear end of the pod seems to be more vulnerable to damage and resulting in death if you catch it with a wall somewhere, which is kind of more common if you're playing with low traction FPS like on this track. But a very nice time for coming in here. That's 145.6. That looks like a time that's better for someone who hasn't been practicing.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of confused by this pick, because I just kind of expect Ace to be able to do stuff like this with no preparation at all.
Yeah, well, King Bean did actually do a very good time in his warm up. I think he did a low 45. So he certainly had it in him here, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the pressure sort of starts getting to you when you're down. But if anyone can do it, I think it's King Bean, because he's, at least in my experience, he's the kind of player who he can potentially just turn it around and just take 5 in a row suddenly. So
Yeah,
we'll just see how the future races go here.
definitely known for his comebacks, so I wouldn't count him out. So we have a pod ban of Ben Quaternaris from King Bean, and then Ace bans Abyss. I gotta say, it's a pretty smart track ban. King Bean definitely likes
Yeah,
to stick to Abyss.
yeah, this is an interesting one for everybody. I think as a track ban choice, it's probably one of the most infamous tracks in the game. Like, I think everyone who plays going like, oh yeah, I remember Abyss. I hated doing that track. Track 1 was Bumpy's knock, Bumpy's breaks. Yeah. And yeah, no Ben. So Ben Quadinaris ban. He's the fastest pod on every track, with the exception of Gravmine Gateway and FMR, not allowing for computer simulation runs, essentially.
Yeah.
So that can be interesting regarding a few, where we might be going here with the track. That does, of course, exclude skips. There are some different pod options that are better on skips than Ben Quadinaris.
And we are going to Ando Prime Centrum with a skip with skips. And this is without Ben as well. This is a
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
pretty classic King Bean pick as well. He's definitely picked this
Yeah,
before.
this is more of the sort of thing I was expecting from KBD. So yeah, we are seeing the qualifying track. If you didn't see our qualifying sessions, which helped us to rank the players, which determine where they will be in the bracket. Yeah, so I think Ace did better on this track, on the full track, than King Bean did in the qualifying, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we do have the skip option here, which we'll be seeing them practice. You can see King Bean doing his practice there, which essentially skips out the whole hairpin section of the track, which is kind of a shame, really, in my opinion, because it's kind of the part of the track I just enjoy playing the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, the skip's kind of interesting to see as well.
Yeah, the skip definitely removes the most interesting aspect of this track. So it makes the track kind of boring, in my opinion.
I like to see some bowls action, though. That's always good, I think.
Yeah. But I will say this is kind of a classic for Ace as well. Just because he's definitely used to doing APC skips under pressure because of his RTA practice. He likes Hundo a lot, so he's definitely no stranger to this.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one as well, because you can drive through those walls. There's a lot of places in this game where you can just, you can just drive through walls that just don't have any collision on them, and that's kind of a good example of it. But you have to know where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Ace having a few problems with this skip, actually. So maybe a good pick, King Dip here. I don't want to jinx it for him, but yeah, hopefully we can see him take a point here.
Yeah, Yam mentions that they're both doing a very old setup. There was a new setup that was found like maybe a year ago or something that makes the skip a lot easier, but um it also has its quirks as well, so just doing whatever is easiest. That's what I'd recommend.
Is that like in reference to TFPS, or is that in reference to a different technique?
It's a different technique. You like ride up the left-hand side of the kind of thing in the middle of that room.
Oh yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
quite easy once you get it down, but all right, countdown has been given. Yeah, King Bean crashed on M100 as well. All right, this should be it.
Yeah, nice opening lines from King Bean.
Ooh,
He's
and a
changed
death
with
from
you.
Ace.
Yeah, I think he tried to boost up the ramp there to get more height, but it didn't pay off for him very well.
Whenever I think of King Bean, in tournament I always think of this exact scenario. So I always prepare for it a lot or just ban it outright.
Yeah.
But Ace did allow him to go here, so just like temp banning Ben on something that's like kind of specific like this skip is always just like a massive pain if you're just not used to it or prepared. Just because like things are just so slightly different that it'll just throw you
Yeah,
off.
yeah, you definitely have to be ready for every pod situation, especially this year because we've got a lot of potential pod bans since forces can be stacked.
Yeah. With one force point you can ban 3 pods, which is quite a uh that's quite a lot of variability.
Yeah, it should probably specify there actually. That's one pod ban which is just done every race, and then 2 for the force point. So it'd be
Yeah.
3, 5,
Yeah.
7, etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Definitely
yeah,
looks like a King Bean win here.
well, that's nice. Always, you never want to see a player go no wins in a match, so that's a good start for King Bean.
Definitely. Let's see
Yeah,
if
looking
he can
like he's
take
going
it
to
to
get
5-2. Very nice.
Yeah, so he's faster time there than can be done without skips with the fastest pods. So that's a good sign.
That was almost Tawny record as well. 1/10 off.
Let me guess, Metallica has it.
No, Ace actually has it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I remember Metallica doing a very good run there. Yeah, I didn't get Ace's exact time in that track, but it was a 41 something.
I'm really curious what Ace is prepared. I'm kind of expecting him to do Executioner skip.
I could see that.
Ace temp banning Ben, so if King Bean doesn't know the skip, then banning Ben would just make King Bean that much slower. So maybe it's coming.
Yeah, if he goes to the full track option, it wouldn't be. It would certainly slow him down a little bit.
I think Dom did Executioner skip against King Bean last year as well. But now we're going to Inferno with skips. This is probably a good pick, although I thought the exact same last year, and this is basically what lost me my match against King Bean. So let's just hope Ace doesn't make that mistake
Skip, I
again.
think I always say that skips are a very risky pick, even if you're good at them, because they can just sometimes go wrong, and there's just not really much you can do about it.
Yeah, definitely.
This one is a pretty popular choice in tournaments.
I would say the small skips like this aren't really worth trying in tournament unless your opponent doesn't know them or you feel so disadvantaged that you just want a point. Like you're playing from the lower ground.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So not something you're really going to pick then, is it, Goof?
Well, I already did pick the Derby skips, so but I don't think I'll choose it Inferno. Just
Well, I
way
believe
too
you were
risky.
runner-up. Were you not runner-up last year?
For Inferno.
No, just for the whole tournament.
Oh yeah. I did get second, but that was only because King being dropped.
I think I've forgotten that King being dropped out of the tournament.
Yeah, he likes to do that, apparently.
Mm. Well, that was a good practice from Ace. Yeah, so yeah, boost pattern timing is not really the most essential thing anymore.
No.
It helps to have a pod that has good acceleration and brakes and can actually do the skip.
Yeah. High ice radius and hover height is good here. Which is why Team Toe is actually kind of good for some, well, for those
Yeah,
reasons.
Team Toe's a bit of a strange pod in that way. Like,
Just
I mean,
as,
speed wise, atrocious, but for skips, he can potentially do some stuff.
yeah, speed wise and handling, it's just kind of atrocious. Which is
Yeah,
kind
so
of a
players
shame
get.
because I do like his pod.
I think I used it in like 2003, and then after that, I didn't use it. I don't think.
Hmm. We didn't never did any random skips with him back in the day.
I don't think I ever tried really because it was a bit like when I was trying to find skips, I was always playing with the fastest full track pod, so it was kind of a. I think that's why those skips were kind of found first, or actually in some cases I was using like not what would be the fastest pods in Abbott at the time. So that's why I think a lot of skips that I found were with like Mars Guo, for example, who just happened to be good at skips.
Yeah, I never really understood how you could randomly come to the conclusion that Mars and One were good.
I think it was just experience and testing. But yeah, a lot of lava on this track. Not really the sort of stuff you want to fall into. Um, like I said, it doesn't really matter for the boost timing section, but it can cause you some problems with your with damage to your engines. So you get engine fires can be a problem. Those have to be repaired, otherwise they kind of eat into your engine. I think this is the actual race now, is it not?
Yeah, this is it. I won't
Yeah,
bother sinking, but
yeah. It kind of looks pretty confusing because there's a lot going on really here. You can ride on the top of the wall, get to the lap, but Ace is already on his final lap. He just needs to get over this one, and he will be finished. This is very nice.
yeah, King
And
being
Kingbean did better.
remarking. Sorry,
He
go
did
ahead.
better than in his practice run, but it just looked like Ace just looked too good on there.
Yeah, King being remarking that he hasn't done that in months, which, yeah, Inferno skips is definitely not something that people really play much.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you have to keep practicing to be good at it because it requires quite a bit of finesse as to getting the position exactly right and just the technique for climbing the wall and that kind of thing. It's a little bit tricky. So yeah, we're back to King Bean's selection here for the track. So it's 3-1 now to ace.
I think King Bean said he had been practicing for about 4 hours, so surely he's got something up his sleeve from that time.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of one of those interesting ones with tournaments because obviously it's alternate choice picks. If if you have a really good pick and you can win every time you take your pick, then it kind of depends on who started picking first as to where the outcome could potentially go, unless someone sort of breaks serve really with their pod options.
Looks like King Bean is temp banning Mars and Mahonic. The Bunter Classic, maybe with skips. He does have one force point left.
Okay, so we have no Mars, Bunter Classic, and no Mahonic as well.
Full track. So Bullseye.
Yeah, this is a track where there's a lot of potentially reasonable options here. Mac is a choice. Bullseye is a choice. Well, Ben actually is a choice. Actually, was Ben banned?
Yeah, Ben was temp banned, so it's Ben, Mahonic, and Mars that were all banned.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually find Bullseye here to be like one of the hardest things in the game for some reason. Like I just don't like Bullseye on the Bunter Classic at all. I find him very awkward to use. Like his like boost thrust and his cooldown just like perfectly match like the track, but in like the opposite way. Where like you can
Yeah, it looks
never
like
use your heat and stuff. But Ace going with Elan.
yeah. I think these are kind of the pod selection choices I sort of would expect. Really, King Bean does like to play Bullseye on a lot of tracks, but like this, like on Baru Coast, I know he likes to use Bullseye.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use Elan on the Bunter Classic though. It's definitely
Elan's a good
interesting,
pick,
but
classic.
yeah, I'm just saying I haven't seen it, but looks like Ace might be changing or just upgrading traction.
Yeah, we see King Bean can take a slightly shorter line over that first section with Bullseye just because of the maneuverability. So that kind of helps a little bit. Bullseye is the optimal pod on the two most sort of twisty tracks in the game with a lot of tight corners. But yeah, he's a good choice on this track as well. So yeah, he does have a very high maneuverability, but he's not the fastest. He does have quite a rapid rate at which his engines on his pod heat up, which is not a good thing for being fast, because that's your kind of your resource, is your heat, which is essentially your boost resource. And there is a limit to how much heat your pod can have before it catches fire, and you can't boost in that situation. So that's a disadvantage. Although to counter that a little bit, it does have very good cooling. But having a stronger heat rate is a more important aspect to a pod.
Yeah. All right, this should be it. Sync coming in. But yeah, both opting to use Bullseye. Yeah, let's see how this goes. I would say King Bean is definitely favored to win this, just because I don't imagine Ace would have prepared for this at all.
Yeah, I I think that's probably true as far as acE's preparation. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting track, this, actually. There is that section that has some slow terrain on that they just finished before these arches section, which has a shorter line, which is good for some pods, but as we mentioned, Bullseye has quite a fast heat rate, so he's not the best option there. And I think you can only start applying the boost if your pod is up to more than, I believe it's 80% or 75% of its maximum non-boosting top speed, if I've got that right. So that means that you end up cooling down too much and you can't actually use any boost resource that you would otherwise have. So it's actually a disadvantage to do that. We have the same problem on the Gauntlet as well, actually.
Yeah. And this line that Kingbean takes, like, it's a very weird line to me because I haven't really seen it that much. But apparently it's good. I'm not really sure what to make of it though.
I think it's pretty good. It is. I think it's slow terrain, but it is a shorter path.
Yeah. I just wonder if like the regular path though isn't like that much of a detour. But yeah, maybe
No,
it is.
I don't think there's a huge difference with it. It's probably more important in ILs, really.
I do remember
You can see that.
Kingbean made a Ben task. Like I think it was just one lap of the Bunter Classic with Ben, and he managed to take that line somehow with Ben.
I think I remember seeing that, actually.
Yeah. Definitely have to try it out. But yeah, it looks like Kingbean is doing just generally better over every corner, so he's pulling ahead.
Yeah, I think just more prepared, really, and that's really what tournament is about, isn't it? It's just being prepared over your opponent. Yeah, knowing the boost pattern timings and just being competent to use the pod and take really good lines is just going to help so much in this sort of situation. So, yeah, it looks like it's probably a good pick from King Bean. I mean, he's getting some very nice lap times here as well.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the pod ban force, just because I think skips is much more powerful. But this is definitely one of the better use cases I've seen of using pod bans.
Yeah, I mean, his lap times are just excellent here, simply.
What pace is he on? Like five
Well, I
something?
think he got a 41 and a 40 flat on his second lap.
Hmm.
So it looks like, yeah, 503, 504 pace, something like that, which would be
Yeah, that's
pretty
really
incredible,
good.
actually. I think this
Yeah,
is
very
the sort
clean.
of pick that will against weaker opponents in general, just because they don't have that experience and consistency or speed on a longer track. So it's a good pick against those sorts of players, I think.
Would definitely work against me, I'll say that much.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get a really good time here. Oh, that was a
Oh,
nasty.
what?
Right? A triple red, but coming in with a 502.
I want to look up the bullseye record there.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure
think it's
that's it.
far off. Dom has a 501.7, so like 0.5 slower. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, even acE's time was very good there.
Yeah,
We should
definitely.
mention it. Yeah, that was a good race actually for Bunter Classic. That is a really hard track to play well in a tournament.
Yeah, incredible time. So 2-3, keeping it pretty even, which is something we like to see.
Well, the ball's back in Ace's court now.
Yeah, Ace has 2 force points remaining.
Yeah, probably should have been keeping a closer eye on that actually.
Yeah, Ace has 2 and King Bean has 1. So Ace bans Ben and King Bean bans Bug Derby.
Yeah, Doug Derby is a track I think the Ace is pretty fond of, so I think that's a pretty good temporary ban choice actually for King Bean.
Definitely.
Yeah, another no Ben pick from Ace though, so maybe he's I don't know, maybe he's going to pick some other skip on some track with no Ben.
Like Abyss skips with no
A bit skip
ban.
would be pretty interesting, actually. Yeah. Oh, he has picked a bit skips.
Yeah. So yeah, both just gonna use 1 here. Let's see if they can beat my record. Hopefully not.
I think this is a pretty good skip for beginners to try because it's the sort of thing you can just practice without having to actually do any racing.
Yeah, it's definitely the easiest. Probably the easiest skip in the game. That skips like a large portion.
Well, it's only about 95%. It's not that much. King Bean on bullseye. Okay, it looks like he's switched to 1 now.
This is definitely something you can just be ultra consistent at, and I picked this against King Bean when I raced him just because if you're just like not warmed up, it can be inconsistent. There's definitely a few things that go wrong, but just having that consistency, you'll just win almost 100% of the time.
Yeah, I always think it looks a bit silly, the skip, but it's kind of the easiest one to understand, really. Just using the lap trigger and then just going behind the line, just finishing the run. Just basically to do with how the game figures out, decides where you are on the track.
Yeah. You just kind of cross over onto the path below you, and then you get back onto the start line.
Yeah, it looks like slightly variation in technique here. It looks like King Bean's opting to use both alternating sides of the track here.
Definitely it is faster to do that, but I always find that left wall to be very finicky. more so than the right wall.
Yeah. You have to kind of land higher up as well to actually get a quick transition.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like he's failing some of the lap triggers.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest problems with skips is you have to trigger the lap at just the right point for it to work.
All right,
Players get
countdown coming
a
in.
problem. Okay. We just wait for a bit of stream delay and then we should see them pause and then restart, and then that should be the actual race.
See if King Bean can do that in the actual race. Again, I won't bother to sync this one.
Hopefully they'll start at the same time. So it looks like the best time here is yours, Goof.
Yeah.
TV point.
I'm definitely proud of my tournament strats here.
Ooh, Ace struggling on the wall.
Oh gosh. King Bean taking it.
King Bean on his final lap. Oh, he takes it, I think. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Nice time as well. Well, that's brought it even.
That's what I like to see.
That's the way it goes in skips. Like you can do it perfectly 100 times in a row, and then you go into your match, and it just all goes wrong.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of things that can potentially go wrong in tournaments. You can have problems with your controller, or internet can drop, or anything.
I always find that like I can do things like perfectly, and then as soon as the match starts, like my fingers like start to like tense up and like my wrists tense up, and I just can't do the same movements I've been doing for the past hour. And I just slam into a wall and die.
Yeah, I think this is probably the closest match these two have had, actually. But yeah, it's looking like his chances of actually taking the match have improved significantly with that win, I think.
Yeah, it's 3-3, right? I think that's right.
I think it is 3.
Yeah. This officially marks the most amount of points King Bean has gotten against Ace. His previous best was 2. But yeah, a ban from Ace, and then King Bean bans Doug Derby. Then Ace run backs on the Bunter Classic with skips. So what is this? Like Mars skips? This is a pick that I had in my last race that I didn't get to do.
I think that's a pretty cool strategy from kingbeandip, actually. I quite like this pick.
This is Ace, no?
Oh yeah, this is Ace.
Yeah,
That's
this is Ace's
point.
pick.
Yeah, of course. What am I talking about? Yeah, so players have an option to run back one track that they've lost on. So yeah, this is Ace's pick. Beg your pardon. Yeah, it looks like he's going with Mars, as you suggested.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was 3-5. Sorry, in 2019 I thought it was 2-5. But there are two options here. You can either go Bowls or Mars, but I really don't like the Bowls pick. Even though he's probably still faster than Mars. just because you get to skip like that entire section, which Bowls is bad at specifically, but Mars is just like so good on the rest of the track that using Bowls is
Interesting.
like would have such a minimal gain.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this pick from Ace.
Well, the
I
thing
think
is,
it
like,
really it comes down to whether or not King Bean's prepared enough on this. I think.
well, King being already shaky on his pod ban switching to Elan. I would say the Bunter Classic skips with Ben is like really simple. You just kind of ride the wall. But as soon as you remove Ben, there's like so many different ways you have to do it with Mars and other pods that like can definitely just throw you off. So I definitely like this pick. Although maybe not against King Bean, just because I know King Bean likes to go here anyway.
Yeah, he does pick this track in tournament pretty often.
But you can see like King Bean already shaky on the skips, which is
yeah, he just wants to practice the. Yeah, he's not prepared here. It would seem.
yeah.
Maybe it is a good pick then. In that case.
And doing Mars on the Bunter Classic skips is like something you do in 100% as well. So something Ace is really comfortable with. And you see like King Bean already kind of he like semi-failed the skip, he didn't get enough height.
Yeah, he's going to skip some of the track, but not all of it, all of that section. Yeah, Ace looks pretty comfortable here. It's a slightly different technique, I think, with Mars compared to some of the other pods regarding the actual position of where you have to ride up the wall. And you have to use the roll or tilt option, which we can see players using. We see Ace using it on some of the sections, which actually enables you to climb up the walls to actually be able to perform the skip.
Yeah.
And we probably should mention that a lot of the walls have extended invisible columns that go up to different varying amounts of height that enable some skips to be even possible or not. Turns out in this case you can actually just jump over some of those sections, but that's why you need so much height to actually make this skip, because those invisible walls extend much higher than you can actually see.
Yeah. This skip in particular, like the walls around that area are just so high that if you don't get exactly the right amount of height, you'll just die to the invisible wall. But very
I think
even
are we
so
in the
far.
yeah, this is the race, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We can see,
Yeah,
yeah, as you've said, very similar in pace and ability at the moment. Obviously, after the skip, we can see how much time the skip will save. Actually,
this isn't gonna work. Yeah. And even
ooh,
Ace, I didn't catch why Ace didn't get the height, but they both didn't get quite enough height to get over that last
yeah,
wall.
yeah. I think King Bean's strategy is just to jump some of the track with Elan.
Yeah. But King Bean taking a death while Ace was managed to recover without taking the death, so Ace is ahead.
Yeah, I agree. It's not looking so good for King Bean now. It is a bit of a crazy track. This, I mean, he could still potentially win if Ace really messes up bad, but it's not looking too good, I'd say.
Yeah, I just think Mars is so good on this track that it's kind of confusing why King Bean picks Elan, but oh, and another death from King Bean. And a bad respawn. Damn. Respawns all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. There's a lot of alternate routes you can use on this track that you don't always see, actually.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. We should do a challenge using one of them sometime.
I'd be up for that.
Ace just barely getting over that last wall.
Oh, yeah.
Gaming also doesn't have enough height. No, that's never gonna work. Yeah, he's definitely not getting anywhere near the height that you need to get over that last wall. So you should just be going for the shorter skip.
Yeah, I think he's saving some time, just not a huge amount. But yeah, Ace has a pretty commanding lead now, I think. Yeah, Elon and Mars have very similar pod performance stats, except I think the main difference I would say is that Elon's a lot more slippery. We can see it kind of slides around the track a lot more than Mars does. Mars is quite a grippy pod racer that stays on course where you want to go.
Yeah. And Mars, I would say like Mars's boosting mechanics are definitely much more similar to Ben, while Elon is a lot similar to Bullseye, is how I think of it.
Yeah, Mars has the a very long boost, which is a plus. Although it's his actual amount of speed he gains from boosting isn't enormous, but it's still pretty good. So that makes him quite a good pod racer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ace getting 3 for 3 on the skip.
These exact conditions when you don't have to use Ben on this track and you can skip the most difficult section just makes this track kind of easy. Whereas it would be maybe one of the harder tracks in the game without if you're just doing it with no conditions.
King being trying to learn as he goes here, I think. Yeah, Mars is a fun pod to play, though, I think, in general. But a nice time coming in from Ace here.
451. That was no deaths, right?
I didn't notice any. I think King Bean's probably had about 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've kind of lost count.
Yeah, almost 6, just missing the sandcrawler. Just
4 apparently.
I remember last year, I think someone just managed to drive through that without hitting it somehow. Well, it's King Bean's pick, so I wonder if he has anything just as good as before that he can pull out against Ace here. It's whether or not he's had enough time really to prepare enough things, I think. That's going to be the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of gets harder the longer you play a match because you need to have more things prepared. And of course, it's very fatiguing as well. I think it's probably a good idea that players aren't playing best of 13 in the grand finals this year.
I think winners side is doing best of 13s, aren't they?
Oh, I thought it'd been reduced. Maybe it was more than that. Maybe it was like best of 17 or something. I think there was a year where it was just like an enormous number of races.
That's
Or maybe it
crazy.
was just the theory. Yeah, maybe I've misunderstood that. I thought maybe there were some plans for having longer matches, but those would have been a little bit too long, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, match point for ace. I would say best of 9 can either feel like too short, or if it goes to race 9, it feels just about like the right length.
Well, I think that having longer matches is good for attaining a more fair result, but at the same time, it's just exhausting for the players.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of like a best of 13, you're like all out of your picks and all out of practice, and you're just kind of grasping at straws.
It can be kind of interesting though if it's two-way, because then sort of both players are in that situation, and then it kind of comes down to who has the best sort of fundamental play that can take the match.
Yeah. All right, so King Bean bans, temp bans Aldar, and then Ace temp bans Inferno.
Looks like Ace doesn't want to run back on Inferno. No Aldar, that's an interesting pod ban.
Isn't Ace leaving Abyss on the table? Because I don't think King Bean has used his run back yet.
No, I think Ace used his run back, didn't he, for Bunter Classic. That was
yeah.
So yeah, I think King Bean still has his choice here to use his run back. Although I don't know which track he would run back on, because he's won his own picks pretty much.
Well, I'm saying he can pick Abyss. He can do a run back on. Oh wait, no, he won on Abyss, didn't he? He did Abyss skips
He
and
won on a
won.
bit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Ace doesn't have to worry about the off meta Abyss full track. So he bans Inferno instead.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's going to pick here.
Oh, and King Bean maybe is trying to run back on Abyss, like I said, but he won there. I might have mind read him.
Botto problems here, it looks like.
No, he tried to run back on Abyss, even though he won there.
I see. Yeah, you can't do that, King Bean. I think what other tracks you'd like to pick. I could see him picking maybe something like MGS.
I
Although,
don't think he'd pick
I don't
that against Ace.
like that.
M100 run back. It's kind of crazy.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing that would be logical actually as a run back in that situation. I think King Bean.
Maybe he just is that confident on M100.
Yeah. But of course, there's no Aldar, so Ace could be in trouble here.
Yeah, you can't use the Aldar clutch.
I mean, it might be a good pick against someone like Zalaskalar, because I know he likes using Aldar.
Yeah, Aldar's a really sick pod actually. I wish there was like a temp ban situation where Aldar became like optimal. But he's just basically just the worst version of Bowles, so you can't really get him to be optimal without using a force point.
Bowles, who's a worse version of Ben, you mean?
Well, no, Aldar is a worse version of Bowles, and I guess Bowles is a worse version of Ben. But
yeah, all the pods after that are pretty much garbage. It's like they're just all kind of the same, pretty much, but they're all just terrible somehow.
at least compared to Ben, yeah. Like just after that, there's Mars and Mahonic and Elan, which are basically similar, and then Bullseye is slightly slower. But even like Aldar compared to the Mars, Mahonic, and Elan group is like only optimal on like a short amount of tracks, just because he's so bad like handling wise that like he just kind of falls apart as soon as you throw a corner at him. But yeah,
don't know if he's that.
countdown. I mean, he's pretty bad. He's like bad handling wise and also fast, which just like compounds to make his handling that much worse. But yeah, Ace in warm-up's looking maybe a bit shaky, while King Bean looking quite good, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think this is a reasonable pick from King Bean.
Yeah, if he feels confident, definitely reasonable pick. All right, this should be the race. Potentially final race.
King Bean going for that risky boost hole there.
Ace just ahead, but with much more heats. While King Bean's on.
I like the way we've both got
Levy.
quiet, just dealing with tension here.
Yeah, it's a very tense match.
Neither of them underheating, that's good.
Very even so far. Oh! King Bean overturning on the hairpin.
Well, that's not good. This requires a death and really.
Yeah.
Yeah, too close together in skill to make that up.
Again, why I think it's a bit questionable to take Ace to Malister, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it just didn't really work out from here. Yeah, engine fires on the last corner. Yeah, nice time that time from Ace. Yeah, that was a good time. Oh well, that was a fun match.
Yeah, definitely.
I was hoping it would go to a 4-5, but you can't have everything. Yeah, do we want them into interview? I don't know.
Yeah, let's skip that.
Yeah, I think explain yourselves, I think is what we say.
What's up,
Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, GG's, man.
GG.
Very nice.
I was. Yeah. So, who wants to go first? Goof, do you want to ask some questions?
Yeah. So my biggest question is, why would you take Ace to Malister?
It's the only track I've grinded this year.
I see. I see.
Did
I
you, do you actually have a secret PB or?
Yeah, I have a 44 there now.
Oh, yeah, that's very nice.
Nice.
Yep. So, yep.
Yeah, it used to be one of my go-to picks actually, so I wasn't too concerned about it. Although I haven't practiced it before, but I've just practiced it so much for the other tourneys that I guess I was
Yeah.
fine on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a lot of
Pretty
close
interesting.
close races. On bumpies, you were basically synced up until King Bean died on lap 3.
Where did you die? Did you die on the shortcut?
I believe so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, the classic.
Uh-huh.
A lot of those races were pretty close, actually. Although I was pretty interested and surprised by the perma bans. Although, yeah, I thought maybe acE. I thought you did. I'm surprised you perma banned AMR, but Goof was sort of saying that he thought that that was something that King Bean liked to do a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, Kingbean is really good at AMR. And the
I
thing
was
is...
I was actually worried about you picking it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, it just takes a lot of prep to do fast canyon well, especially on Ben. So
Yeah.
since I hadn't that much time to practice, I was just like, yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
just picking stuff to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
The Bunter Classic, both of those I thought were really interesting. Definitely an insane time from King Bean using Bullseye. There was like basically 0.5 off of the best Bullseye time.
Is it?
Well, unless you have a better time.
Here.
Maybe.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, a 502 is not... I think I did a 509 and I was pretty content
it's
because I
had
didn't
like
die.
Yeah. I don't know. I started prepping that track with like Elad or Mars or something, and it's like, well, this is hard. How don't I do?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is so easy with Bullseye. So to get that time, I only put in like half an hour of prep.
Wow. Well, that's a really strong time. I assume you do the opening jump?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I didn't go for that, but still, a 502 is so fast.
Uh-huh.
I actually considered Elon. I started warming up with Elon, and then I realized this is a really bad idea. And then I switched to Bullseye.
Uh-huh.
King Bean, you did use Bullseye on the skips though, which I found interesting.
You mean Elan?
Did I say that? Oh, I say EB.
So-
Ah,
Yeah, I used Elan because that was the pod I learned for that skip for any percent.
right.
And I'm still surprised that the skip didn't work any of the 3 laps.
What FPS did you use?
I was on 4100.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. Of course, I don't remember the any percent.
Yeah, you want to be on
TFS.
60 for sure.
Okay.
I think if you went 60-20, then you would have been fine, probably.
My notes for using bulls on the skip was 4100, so
Oh.
that's what I went with because they have the same traction.
But you didn't feel like trying bolts. I was a bit worried actually because I went Mars and I thought if you are actually practice on bolts, you might beat me there.
I loaded up bulls on the track, and I was like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yep.
Yeah, I expected to do that actually, King Bean, because I saw you were sort of prepped on that and then sort of changed your mind, really, didn't you?
Yeah. But yeah, 528 is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you fail the skip and die, you lose so much time.
Yeah. I mean, I could have just done full track with bullseye. I considered it, but there's no way I can touch a 451 doing full track.
Yeah, I would have had to die like 3 times for that to work.
Yeah.
And even I actually failed. I didn't fail the skip completely that one, but I lost my boost on the approach, which never happened before.
Uh-huh.
Then I had to do like the half skip backup, and I lost like 5 seconds. So
You said you used Mars on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was another pick that I just used because of familiarity. Because I played this in Handos so much. So I figured just go for it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you chose Inferno skips, and I was like, oh crap.
I mean, you had to see this coming, right? It was pretty obvious.
In my prep, though, I didn't even think about skips. It was just too much to think about.
Oh, I see, yeah.
But yeah, I started doing that, and I spent the entire warm-up period, like, teaching myself how to do the skip again.
Oof, yeah.
And it went pretty well. 31 with 1 death is not too bad there.
Yeah, that's actually pretty solid. You did take Abyss from me, though. It was actually a good time. I think even if I didn't fail, you might have taken it.
Yeah,
So,
I got a 22-second in warm-up.
Wow, okay, that's really good.
Which beats my PB by 3 seconds. Which
Nice.
means that my PB is utter garbage.
Did you go for right, left, right, or did you go 3 right?
No, I started doing right, left, right in warm-up, but I was having problems with the lap counting, and I
on lap 2, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how that works going on left, so I just went right, right, right.
Yeah. Well, 22 for triple right is actually really good.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yeah, pretty good match overall, I would say. Very close. A lot of back and forth. But yeah, so Ace goes on to the winners semis, and you'll face the winner of Mikey versus Gale.
Yeah, I hope my boy Gale does me a favor. Puts you into losers bracket, Mike. Although I'd really like to face you again, but it would be so stressful.
Gale already ruined me by beating me in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, you would have had to face Mike otherwise, right?
Yeah, I could have been up against Omura.
Oh, yeah, okay, that would have been probably a bit
Which would have been so much better for me.
Yeah.
I think that's what would have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gale's one of the biggest mysteries this year. I don't know how he's going to do, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us expected him to be really strong because he almost never puts in enough practice to do it.
Well, I know he's talented, but he just doesn't play.
I believe, I don't know. I'm hoping he's secretly practicing every day. 9 hours a day.
Yeah, same. I doubt it, though.
But yeah, the loser of...
match, though.
Yeah, the loser's gonna either face Mikey or Gale as well. The loser of that match. So, we'll see.
I hope it's Gale.
I feel you.
The next
that was a good match, though. I really good times there in that match today.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm pretty pleased with my performance, at least.
Yeah, I'm happy with 3 points against Ace.
Yeah,
and they were all on skips that I didn't prepare at all.
Yeah. Yeah, GG's again. That was a good one.
Yeah, GG.
I hope you make a run like in the losers bracket.
Well, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Alright, well, that was a good game. I think that's it. The next match is later today. 4 hours from now? Or 3.5 hours? Yeah. And then we have 2 tomorrow as well, so jam-packed schedule.
What do we have tonight? Who's playing?
It's Zelaskalar versus Lightning.
Oh, this might be interesting.
Yeah, should be really close.
Yeah, Zelaskalar's the other wild card.
Yeah, for sure.
We never know how much practice he's doing.
Yeah, if you like pod racing, stick around for the next couple of days. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yep. Both the upper and lower bracket round 1 will be decided in the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to go to the next round. Woo!
I think like
Oh, well,
all
well
of the upcoming matches are going to be so close.
Mhm.
But yeah, if that's it, then we'll head out, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, guys. See you next time.
All right.
See ya.
You're welcome.
See you guys.